Island state of Australia, a strange occurrence has been reported. A port of 230 pilot whales have been found stranded on the beach.
What's going on?
We don't know. We simply do not know. So whale strandings are a mystery because if we knew why and when they would happen, we'd try and prevent them, but we just don't.
Thousands of whales, dolphins and other marine mammals wash up on beaches around the world each year. This phenomenon, known as beaching or stranding, occurs in both healthy individuals and injured or dead animals that are carried ashore by strong winds. Sometimes what are known as mass strandings occur when a large number of marine animals wash up on the shore at the same time, and other times a region may have an abnormally high number of strandings over a period of time. Marine biologists and other specialists aren't completely clear why this is happening, despite the fact that a range of explanations for why they're behaving in this manner have been proposed. They have various hypotheses as to why animals like dolphins and whales are acting strangely, one of which is because they are hearing noises in the ocean which causes them to act strangely. So what exactly is this marine biologist warning, and what does it signify for these animals? Join us in today's video as we dig into the specifics of these strange marine mammal behaviors. It's no secret that our oceans have altered over time, and tragically not for the better. A concerning trend is that whales and dolphins have been washing up and moving towards land considerably more frequently in recent years, indicating that something is happening within the sea that is prompting them to behave in this manner. According to marine biologists who have been watching these incidents, one of the most recent events that has been observed is the washing up of whales on California beaches. Currently, many of these big whales have been witnessed purposefully beaching themselves, which experts describe as a concerning scenario. On June 21st, a 45-foot-long dead grey whale, longer than a city bus, washed up on Ocean Beach on San Francisco's western boundary. A fin whale washed up on another beach south of the city the day before. 7 grey whale carcasses washed up on Bay Area beaches in May. In April, 6 more stranded whales were located. Grey whales migrate along the west coast between Mexico and Alaska each year, covering up to 12,000 miles round trip. Whale strandings along the coast increased in 2019. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration classifies them as an unusual mortality event. Other whales appear to be dying and sinking further out in the ocean, but the true number of deaths is unknown. We know that for every 1 whale that washes up on our shores, that another 10 whales can die offshore and never be seen, says Steve Jones, Senior Communications Specialist for the Oceans Program at the Charity Center for Biological Diversity. According to one estimate, the overall population of the species along the coast decreased by more than 7,000 animals, or 1/4, between 2016 and 2020. Scientists are still unsure why so many whales are dying, although climate change may be a factor. The waters are warming in the Arctic where they are feeding, says Kathy George, Director of Field Operations and Response at the Marine Mammal Center, a Bay Area non-profit that saves injured marine creatures. With warming waters, you're not going to have as productive waters, so the quantity and quality of the food that they eat in the Arctic has not been as high in recent years. The whales have been starting these migrations not as healthy as they have in years past. The whales have also begun to take strange detours on their journey. While they usually don't eat while traveling, gorging themselves in the Arctic and then making it to Mexico without eating, they've begun to stop in the Bay Area to eat more. According to research conducted in Mexico, many whales are now skinnier than they should be. They may be more vulnerable to human-caused impacts when they are malnourished, she explains. It has not been possible to determine the cause of death for all the whales that have landed on California beaches this year, although several were certainly hit by ships, possibly when they were eating close to shore. Solving the climate change side of the problem will take time. The Arctic has been rising 3 times faster than the rest of the planet. But preventing ships from colliding with whales is very straightforward. Science supports a really easy solution, says Jones, and that's mandatory speed limits. The Center for Biological Diversity petitioned the National Marine Fisheries Service in April for a required 10-knot speed limit for large ships in whale habitat to safeguard other species, including the endangered blue whale. When a ship is traveling at that pace, whales have a better chance of swimming away from it. The non-profit, which sued the government earlier this year for failing to meet Endangered Species Act requirements, also claims that shipping routes should be changed and ships travelling north and south along the coast should move farther offshore to avoid areas where whales are most likely to be found. While speed limits are still voluntary, corporations that transport goods by cargo ship may increase influence on their shipping company to slow down. WhaleSafe, a Southern California project that employs acoustic monitoring to detect whales and warn adjacent ships, offers report cards to show how effectively ships adhere to speed regulations. If more companies use ships that are complying with voluntary speed reductions and getting good report cards, George says, stressing that the Marine Mammal Centre also wants to collect more data about where whales are and how long they stay in the shipping lanes. Some whales are killed when they become entangled in the lengthy ropes tied to crab traps. Joan believes that newer ropeless crab traps could alleviate the problem, but the industry is hesitant to test them in California. They don't want changes to the 19th century technology that they use, he explains. Grey whales have recovered in the past. The species was nearly hunted to extinction by the middle of the 20th century, but recovered after US regulations prohibited whaling. Climate change may now pose a greater threat. Scientists say it's vital to understand what's going on today because grey whales are an adaptable species, and if they're struggling, it's a warning that the entire ocean ecosystem is in peril. Since 1990, the Zoological Society of London's Cetacean Strandings Investigation Programme, CSIP, has recorded over 12,000 stranded cetaceans. High-profile incidents, such as the 2015 stranding of more than 300 sei whales in Chile's Patagonia region, or a string of beaked whales washed ashore in Guam between 2007 and 2019, demonstrate that this is a genuinely worldwide phenomenon. The reason of any stranding can be traced back to a wide range of factors. Natural causes. According to Dan Jarvis, a welfare development and field support officer at British Divers Marine Life Rescue, a beached whale could be sick or injured, senile, lost, unable to feed, or otherwise compromised. For example, due to a tough labour or simply old. Weakened mammals may drift with the current until they are dragged ashore, while disoriented animals may mistakenly drift into shallower waters. Human activities. Humans are also contributing to the problem. Many of the injuries and eventual deaths caused by strandings are the result of fishing, pollution, ship hits, and other factors. The most common human-made cause of death for cetaceans is entanglement in fishing lines. Researchers blame fishing for the functional extinction of the baiji dolphin and the predicted extinction of the vaquita. Overfishing also deprives cetaceans of their primary food sources, forcing them to search in coastal or tidal areas. Some causes, such as pollution, are subtle, or chemicals eventually end up in the water, where they cause long-term damage. According to Rob DeVille, project manager at CSIP, there is evidence that unhealthy animals have higher amounts of chemical contaminants than healthy animals. However, causation is difficult to prove. Meanwhile, microplastic pollution in their bodies can injure these creatures by entanglement, ingestion, or contamination. Finally, slow-moving species like North Atlantic right whales are especially vulnerable to being hit by a passing ship. Collisions can result in severe injuries or death and beaching. Noise pollution. Scientists frequently say that whales and dolphins perceive with their ears, mapping out their vast, dark underwater habitat with an amazing sensitivity to sound. For many years, the increasing amount of man-made noise in the ocean has blinded them. Naval boats utilize a particularly damaging source of noise to detect submarines and other objects beneath the surface. Active sonar's powerful high-volume and wide-ranging sound waves are traumatic for marine mammals, and evidence has accumulated for more than a decade that they pose an existential threat to many species. Noise pollution, such as sonar and seismic survey sound pulses, interferes with whales' ability to communicate and navigate, and can force them ashore by deafening, disorienting, or frightening them. Deep water species such as beaked whales are extremely vulnerable to sonar, even from great distances. The sequence of beaked whale strandings in Guam, for example, are assumed to be linked to naval sonar activities. The United States Navy is currently violating the terms of its authorization by operating a certain type of sonar in more than half of the world's oceans. This sonar is harmful to marine mammals such as whales, dolphins, seals, and walruses. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in California ruled in 2012 that a regulation allowing the Navy to deploy low-frequency active sonar for training and testing violated the Marine Mammal Protection Act. The court determined that the National Marine Fisheries Service, NMFS, which issued the authorization, is not doing enough to avoid injuring or killing marine mammals in accordance with the law. The Marine Mammal Protection Act requires the least practicable adverse impact on marine mammals and their ecosystems. The court also determined that the federal agency failed to preserve regions of the world identified by its own government scientists as biologically important for marine life protection. However, biologists say that further research is needed to determine why these weird events are occurring more frequently now and whether they are related to climate change or other causes. They also note that they don't have the definitive answer to these strange occurrences. Why do you think these mammals are behaving strangely? Let us know in the comments section below.